In our headlines for this evening, locally, Department of Youth and Sports to observe Youth Month and organizers of Interprimary award partners for their contribution. The details are straight ahead.
I always think of her, but then I always think of him too. He should have never forced himself on her. Help us stop the madness. If you know it, tell it. Tell 1-800-8477-TIPS.
Good evening and welcome to the Nevis Newscast for today, Thursday, April 2nd, 2015. I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Congratulations are in order for the Joyce and Lyman Primary School, JLPS, the 2015 Interprimary Athletics Champions. The 33rd edition of the event was sponsored by Gulf Insurance Limited for the 23rd year and was coordinated by the Department of Youth and Sports, the Department of Education, and the Nevis Amateur Athletic Association. The meet saw athletes competing in the 400, 60, 1200, 200, 800 and 100 meter flat races and the 4x100 and 4x400 meter relays. The JLPS won with a total of 170 points, 15 points ahead second placer, the St. Thomas's Primary School, which scored 155. In third place was the Ivor Walters Primary School with 140 points. Congratulations are also in order for Zone B winners, the Elizabeth Pemberton Primary School, which scored 139 points and placed fourth overall in the competition. Meantime, yesterday's opening ceremony for the 2015 Interprimary Athletic Championships saw awards being presented to 3 individuals and 1 corporate entity, which has contributed significantly to the sustenance of the 33rd-year-old meet. The awards were presented by Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Vance Amory, and the chairperson of the ceremony, Londa Brown.
The organizers have decided to give a special award to persons who have contributed to the Interprimary Championships over the years. And we have a list of 4 persons, and I'd like you to recognize those 4 persons collectively and give them a round of applause before we get into the awards. Mr. Frankie Claxton, Mr. Merrill Carbon, Mr. Arthur Evelyn, and a representative from the Gulf Insurance Company.
Frankie Claxton and Merrill Carbon were awarded for their significant contribution to the early development of the Gulf Insurance Primary School Championship. Local agent for Gulf Insurance, Arthur Evelyn, received an award in honor of his timely contribution and sponsorship of the Gulf Insurance Primary School Championship, while Chief Executive Officer Jason Clark received an award on behalf of Gulf Insurance, a member of the Assuria Group, in honor of its continued contribution and outstanding sponsorship of the Nevis Primary School Championship for 23 consecutive years from 1992 to 2015. This year, the Department of Youth and Sports will once again celebrate Youth Month during April. The theme, which has been selected for this year's Youth Month, is Youth Arts Expression. Let your minds flow and your talents show. This theme reflects the department's recognition that the arts are important in the lives and the future of the island's young people. So said Junior Minister of Social Development, the Honourable Hazel Brandy Williams, in the televised address to mark the observance.
All young people have the capabilities to write and recite poems like our local poets such as Earl Panko Morton and Tafari Ayinde. They have the potential to reach the world stage in poetry just as the late Maya Angelou did. There is nothing standing in their way except that they may not know where this art form can take them. Or young people can write songs in any genre, providing social commentary like so many of our local Calypsonians, such as the King This and That, King Miko, King Bingi, and the King Astro.
As noted by the Junior Minister of Social Development, the arts provides an alternative for deviant and antisocial behavior. As an outlet of expression, the arts gives young people avenues to channel their frustrations and keep them gainfully occupied.
We have several Nevisians who have worked within the arts and now earn an income which can sustain them and their families. Our chefs have the opportunity to not only work in hotels, but to open their own catering businesses, showcasing their skills. We have several musicians who play in bands, play solo instruments to the enjoyment of its listeners. They are able to have fun and do something that they love while earning an income. When we look at a person such as Calvin Lee Swanston, affectionately known as Garlic, who has performed locally, regionally, and internationally, there is no doubt of the exposure that the arts can bring.
Minister Brandy Williams is encouraging the general public to join the Department of Youth and Sports as it seeks to promote youth arts expression over the next 4 weeks and for the rest of the year.
Join us from April 7th to 17th for Camp Expression, geared towards children ages 5 to 16. April 7th to 17th for our costume design workshop for adults. April 11th for Poetry Night at NEPAC. Every Thursday evening for Youth in the News on NTV, Von Radio, and Choice FM. On April 22nd for the Be Your Career Choice Day. On April 24th for the Youth Rally. On May 1st for the launch of the Empowering Young Entrepreneurs Program. And on May 3rd for the Cool Down Beach Bash. We look forward to your entries for the Youth in the Arts competitions currently ongoing. Feel free to access the website at www.dysnevis.org. It's youth arts expression, so let your minds flow and your talents show.
Junior Minister of Social Development, Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. The Nevis Cultural Development Foundation, NCDF, is advising parents that it will be facilitating a variety of workshops during the Easter vacation, Tuesday 7th to Friday 17th April. The workshops include steel pan lessons at the Cultural Complex, African drumming and dance at the Brownhill Community Center, drama, puppetry, drumline and dance at the Nevis Performing Arts Center, and masquerade, clowns and cakewalk dancing at the Charlestown Secondary School. The steel pan lessons will run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., while the other sessions will run from 9 a.m. to noon daily. Registration remains open and forms can be collected from the NCDF at Stony Grove. The fee is $10 per participant. Coming up after the break, Chamber of Commerce welcomes the removal of VAT. Stay tuned.
Fit and fun. Culturama 41.
Welcome back. The general public is being invited to the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society's launch of a UNESCO project titled Educating the Population of St. Kitts and Nevis on Afro-Caribbean Ancestry. The aim of this project is to improve self-appreciation among young people and to build community harmony through the reintroduction of relevant African culture and history as it pertains to people of the Caribbean. Here on Nevis, the project has been coordinated by Chesley Davis, who notes that the project seeks to address and correct the general misconception that African Caribbean people had their beginnings in slavery.
The African Ancestry Project basically is one that seeks to sensitize and inform our people about the rich culture and past we celebrate. In fact, it speaks a lot to our contributions as a people to the world by large, and of course the contribution we continue to make from the pre-enslavement era up until modern day. Our contributions, our inventions, our people, and generally speaking, those positive things that speaks to us. We want to be able to establish and to promote, as this project goes on, is linkages between ourselves here, not only in St. Kitts Nevis, but Afro-Caribbean people around the entire world, the whole diaspora. So, if you travel to Jamaica, or if you travel to England, or if you travel to Canada, sometime in the near future or the distant future, you'll be able to more appreciate the contribution we have made. And as we say locally, link up with your own people.
Davis is partnering with the Nevis Historical and Conservation Society, NHCS, which will implement the program on behalf of UNESCO.
This is our chance to celebrate with our community what Africa has given, has brought to this world, and not focus on the enslavement period. It is a period that occurred, not that we are going to forget it. It is a period that must never be forgotten. But it is a period that we will not dwell upon. We will move forward and look at the richness, as Chesley said, the richness of Africa and the contributions that our African forefathers have made to this world and to our Caribbean community. So we want to celebrate the gifts that we have received, the inventions that they have made that have furthered the human race.
The project will be launched on April 7th during a ceremony which will feature Dr. Whitman Brown.
Dr. Whitman Brown will be there to speak to us about the Africa prior enslavement. So we will learn what our forefathers were like, the kings and queens that we hear about, the kings and queens that we are taught that they were. So we would like you to come out. In addition, there will be an enormous cultural presentation by various groups. I believe Chesley has confirmed the Nipak dancers, Shekinah dancers. We are also confirming a choir from the St. Thomas's Primary School and other such cultural presentations.
According to Henville, international organization WASAT worked with UNESCO to get the project started.
They have to be credited for writing the project proposal. We have lost a team leader at WASET, Kofi, who we will also like to honor on that night on April 7th. But that team, WASET, has played a major role in this project coming to fruition. And so they could not be here with us this morning, but they definitely are part of this team.
The project, scheduled to run for a year, will be launched at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, April 7th, 2015 at the Nevis Performing Arts Center. The St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce is welcoming the removal of value-added tax, VAT, from food, medicines, and funeral expenses effective April 7th. Generally, the members of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce are very much pleased with the removal of VAT from food, medical expenses, and funeral expenses, Executive Director Calvin Cable told Win FM on Monday. There is a perceived buzz in the community very similar to when personal income tax was removed at the change of government in 1980, and it is anticipated that the removal of VAT on these sectors of personal purchases will indeed translate into greater activity in the community. Cable says there has been no discussion among chamber members about concerns that consumers may be exploited by businesses attempting to profit from the removal of VAT. There has been no such discussion about the members of the chamber on that issue. However, in previous discussions with those people in the distributive trades, it is generally agreed that any such savings will be passed on to the consumer. Cable says he therefore expects responsibility from all sides and all stakeholders, and he is sure the consumers themselves will be watchdogs of their own interests. The chamber, he said, would frown on any attempt to exploit the situation. In related news, the removal of VAT from food, medicines, and funeral expenses should be reflected in prices from April 7th, says a top tax official. Once a person is registered for VAT, when they pay the VAT and file their tax return, regardless of if the goods are sold, they claim a deduction from the government in terms of the VAT collected. Comptroller of Inland Revenue Edward Gift explains. So, from a registered VAT business, you never pay over your total VAT collected. It is always the net amount. Total VAT collected from the government is VAT paid out, and you pay the net difference. Regardless of if the businesses have the items sold or not, they are eligible for a deduction. So the price decrease in terms of taking off the VAT that they collect would be an immediate thing. Gift says he expects there will be some hiccups with implementation, but largely he says there should be enough time for businesses to make the necessary adjustments. All food and non-alcoholic beverages are covered by the VAT waiver, including confectionaries and seasonings. That's it for tonight's edition of the Nevis Newscast. Thank you for viewing. Have a pleasant evening and a blessed Easter. Good night.